experience.
Pretty much everyone is now familiar with former Spokane, Washington NAACP President Rachel Dolezal, who lived as an African American, even though her parents have identified her as white. But are you familiar with Clarence King? Same story, just 130 years old. Yes, in the 1880s, this blonde-haired, blue-eyed man who could trace his roots to the signers of the Magna Carta in England 800 years ago, not only passed as a black man, he married former slave Ada Copeland and raised 4 children with her in Brooklyn and Queens.
So he could zip across the Brooklyn Bridge to Brooklyn, assume his different identity as a black Pullman porter, come home to his African-American wife and 4 children, and be pretty confident that his Manhattan intimates weren't going to see him there. And he could zip back in the morning and go to work.
Professor Sandweiss spoke with me by Skype about her research that's in her book, Passing Strange, about Clarence King's double life, in which he claimed he was a Pullman porter, an African-American passenger rail worker, at a time when a white man could, if he wanted, pass himself off as a light-skinned black man.
This country where there are dark white people and there are light black people. This is just the legacy of centuries of slavery and segregation.
Vanderbilt law professor Daniel Sharfstein has done some of the most extensive research about this issue in his book, The Invisible Line, and also pointed out by FaceTime that New York has seen more than its fair share of whites passing as black for a very long time.
Johnny Otis, the band leader, was Greek by descent, but he regarded himself and proclaimed himself to be African American.
What's race, right? That's what's at the foundation of this. Now, scholars agree now that race isn't a biological difference. So the idea that someone would claim to be a member of your group without sharing that wealth of human experience that you share with others, I think is, to some people, is very disturbing.
And, Armin, you saw in that piece Clarence King, a quote from him from in the 19th century, saying that miscegenation is the hope of the white race, miscegenation being the mixing of races. So this issue clearly has been around for a very long time, in fact, long before him. I mean, ever since, really, black people and white people came together on this continent. This thing has been like that.
So it's been going on for so long. Why has Rachel Dolezal's case gotten this much attention?
Well, you know, both of those scholars said that what seems really interesting to them, a few things. One, all those historical cases that they've looked at, well, in those cases way back when, or well, prior to the 1960s, people were breaking the law by posing, particularly black people posing as white people. But even the other way around, it was very, very taboo in many different ways. In Rachel Dolezal's case, well, not necessarily so taboo. I mean, it's common now, right? For
not
white
law
people,
breaking, just ticking people off in a different way, right?
Exactly.
All right. Thanks, James.